Hello and welcome, Rachel from A Sense of Calm. I quite often get asked how to get the best from a Tibetan singing bowl or how to play it. So I thought today I'd create a short tutorial just explaining the basics. So first of all, we need to know that there are two different types of Tibetan singing bowls. Ones that are machined, like this one, which they're usually thicker, they're kind of smooth, there are no irregularities, and they often have symbols and engravings on them. The other type of singing bowl is a hand beaten one, where you can see that it's, there are little kind of dents and inconsistencies on it. Now, these machine ones are much easier to play than the hand beaten ones. These ones take more kind of warming up. You have to kind of ring them like a bell a few times to kind of warm them up. And they take much more skill to play. So if you're a beginner, I would suggest you start with a machined Tibetan singing bowl. So the other thing to know is that the type of mallets that are used. So quite often they're little thin mallets like this, sometimes thicker, bigger, heavier mallets like this. Usually one end of the mallet is covered with a fabric and it's kind of softer. And for the vast majority of bowls, it's this covered end that you want to use when you're playing it. The wooden end is much more difficult and it can often create another kind of sound which you don't want. So, and there's also these type of kind of beaters that are used. These are used more on the big bowls, and obviously when you're playing them like a bell, these ones work very well. They create a very much more kind of subtle, soft sound than the wooden ones, because the end is very soft. So the easiest way to play a machine Tibetan singing bowl is like a bell. But there are a few different ways that you can do it. So you can either have your mallet vertical like this one and touch the rim. Or you can have it horizontal and come a little bit further down the side. And some people prefer to play the bowl from the inside, like a bell, which would be like this. So 3 basic ways to play a Tibetan bowl like a bell. The other important thing is to put the bowl on the flat of your hand, so it sits in the palm, but with the fingers outstretched so that no part of the fingers is touching the bowl. Because if you are touching the bowl with your fingers, it won't resonate, it won't play properly. So make sure it's sitting on the flat of your hand, nicely kind of nestled in the palm, and then it's easy to play. So that's a kind of basic starting point, is just playing the bowl like a bell. But what we can also do is make the bowl kind of sing, which is using a process that they call rimming. So in order to do that, you use the mallet usually almost vertical, though you can experiment with the angle to see what works best for each individual bowl. And also sometimes you play it right at the rim, sometimes you come a little bit further down, and you know some bowls are easier further down, some are easier played around the rim, some you can play both ways but they make a slightly different sound. So experiment, have a little play. But when we play them like this, so you can play it without touching it first, you can literally just put the mallet on and start coming round and round, and you can already hear that the bowl is starting to sing. Now the important thing when you're playing like this is that you don't go too fast or too slow. If you go too slow, the sound will just peter out. If you go too fast, which I'll try and demonstrate, the mallet will sometimes start jumping and create not a very nice sound. This bowl is very tolerant, but a lot of other bowls it would jump and create a horrible sound. So you need a nice consistent press too hard, you're going to move the bowl in your hand, which will stop the sound. But the machined bowls like this one are not difficult to play. Although I have to say, I do find it works even better when you're focused. I like to think about having contact with the core muscles, contracting the core muscles. Sometimes I even think about connecting, like with an invisible cord, connecting to the core at the centre of the earth, and another one connecting to the sun. And then our own little kind of inner solar plexus is our little inner flame that connects us to both sources of light and energy. So as Tesla says, we are beings of energy, frequency and vibration. And that's one of the reasons why creating vibrations with a singing bowl is such an effective tool for meditation, relaxation, and also the frequencies can heal. They can help shift blocks of energy. Not quite as powerfully as using our voice. I will create another video talking about that. But, it's a very good focused meditation that will change your space. If you're not feeling great and you sit down and play a bowl for a few minutes, you will feel different. You'll come out of your headspace into the here and the now, and when you finish, you'll feel better. So, give it a try. Please do leave me feedback in the comments. Let me know how you get on. Let me know if there's particular problems which I could address in another video. Anything I haven't made clear, let me know. And also, if you like this video, please like and share it. It makes a big difference to how many people get to see it, because it kicks in the YouTube algorithm. So I'd really appreciate that. If you enjoy this video or any of my videos, please subscribe, like and share. I'd really appreciate that. And I'm going to finish this video by letting this bowl ring out in a nice bell-like sound. Thank you for being here.